Right.
Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you guys are doing well on this Sunday night. We are at episode 6 of our weekly lockdown chat. Tonight I'm joined again with my awesome co-host, man of many traits, many projects, the head of Draconem Media and Records. You know him as Alec. How's it going?
Good. Thanks, man. Thanks for the introduction.
And as you guys can see, we're joined today by a very special guest, somebody who actually until 5 minutes ago, I actually hadn't been able to speak to directly myself face-to-face either. This is Gary of Nuclear Winter, Zimbabwean mellow death band. Pretty much almost a one-man band, at least when it comes to the conceptual side. But yeah, also another jack of all trades. So yeah, greetings,
Cool.
Gary. Nice to see you face to face, meet face to face finally.
Yeah, no, thanks, and you too. No, it's great to be on this Zoom meeting. It's cool to catch up and see.
Yeah, so we're really in such a weird time. I mean, this is basically the only real communication I have, basically with the outside world. So it's actually really great that we've been able to get to know all of you guys a little bit better, and for anybody that's tuning in, actually getting to know a little bit about you also. So I guess kind of segueing in, as I said, you're from Zimbabwe, Harare in Zimbabwe to be specific. Obviously this lockdown has kind of hit every country differently, kind of as a not so subtle icebreaker. How's the whole pandemic been handled out in Zimbabwe's side?
Well, I'm just trying to think. When we first went on lockdown, I think at the beginning of April, it was fairly strict. But I think after that, they eased it, and generally it's been fairly relaxed. People tend to move about, and as long as everyone's got their masks, there doesn't seem to be any problem. So it's not too restrictive here. We kind of, probably not as bad as everywhere else. I think that could be just luckily we haven't had as many cases as other countries. We're still very low, so there hasn't been too much panic or anything at this stage.
We've definitely got the tin roof, the tin hat, the tin crown going on here, where there are a lot of people that still believe it's a hoax, and there's a lot of people that are refusing to wear their mask, which has pretty much escalated our count now. And we've been actually we're in a level 3 of lockdown, but it basically has level 5 implications, i.e. they brought back the no alcohol sale ban again. There's a curfew that's been installed again between 9 p.m. and 4 a.m. So it's ridiculous, man. And then we still don't have cigarettes for sale. So we still got that whole prohibition thing. Pineapples are still being sold out because people are trying to brew their own alcohol. It's crazy, man. It's like an episode of Moonshiners brought back into real life in our economy. It's mental. Anyway.
And I think what tends to happen, at least with Zimbabwe, is we tend to follow what happens in South Africa. So if that's what's happening there's a chance they might decide to...
Then we have no hope. Then we're doomed. We're doomed.
So this actually segues quite nicely into what I wanted to chat about. Like, obviously at the moment, there's no live performances in South Africa, and I assume that the lockdown has sort of affected your scene as well. So what I wanted to ask is, what is the Zimbabwe metal scene normally like? And Lyle touched on it, and I don't exactly know all of your history, but are you a solo act, and is it out of necessity? There's very few musicians that side? So yeah, basically an all-encompassing thing on how's the Zimbabwe metal scene normally?
Well, it's been fairly inactive. I think because there's so few metal people here. Performing as well is quite difficult because there's not really that many venues. Dividing the Elements, who have put on a couple of performances, they just did it at a fairly small small place, and the crowd, I mean, there was probably maybe, just trying to think, maybe 50 people. So it's like a really small metal community here. So it's, you know, with the lockdown, it's, yeah, there hasn't been that much difference, because even beforehand, there wasn't any real like big performances. There'd be like the odd like a gig happening outside of Harare, where a few bands would go and perform, but that was only like maybe once a year, just a one-off thing. So really, with the lockdown, there hasn't been that much difference. And then on my side, with just being a solo act, I think it's more out of necessity. There hasn't been like other people to get involved with the sort of style of music that I'm trying to do. Although on the Night Shift album, obviously Chris and Matt from Dividing the Element, they contributed towards doing some vocals. But I just find it easier now, especially with the lockdown, just to get music done, and yeah, just to do it myself seems to be the most productive way to do it. Yeah.
Definitely seems like that's something you and Alec both have in common. It's like, you know, sometimes it's great dealing with humans, and it's great to deal with fellow musicians, but sometimes when you want to just get on with it, you know, what better motivator than yourself? So, you know, but I guess that kind of comes up with the next question that I had in mind. I mean, obviously you mentioned that it's a pretty small Zimbabwean metal scene. I mean, to be fair, I mean, even here in South Africa, when you break it down into the micro genres, certain concerts that feature certain types of styles of metal will always attract a different type of crowd. And I don't even think South Africa has that big a metal scene, but I mean, let's say, for example, hardcore, or let's say a specific like brutal death concert would like tend to bring like 50 to 150 people. But, you know, generally there's always a crossover there. But like you say, it's a little bit more niche, with people just not being that into metal kind of in general out there, you know. But I guess that kind of, like I say, brings me to the next question. Your inspirations in actually developing the sound. I mean, what kind of, the bands that you kind of, I don't want to say inspired you, but yeah, kind of had an influence in you wanting to take up the sound, especially in, you know, like you say, a very small market up there?
Well, I think, okay, Devin Townsend and Winter Sun were always like doing stuff that I thought, well, that's really cool. And if I can incorporate some sort of element in my music that's sort of on the same lines, then that's kind of what I was like hoping to do. But yeah, no, just any of the like big top bands, whenever they do something, I think, wow, that's quite impressive. Like, I don't know, Flesh God, Apocalypse, or Amon Amarth, those kind of guys. I kind of like listen to what they're doing, and I think, well, maybe I can try and do something similar, or at least inspires me to do, I don't know, whatever I come up with.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of the whole thing. I mean, how did you get into metal kind of growing up? I mean, what were the bands that kind of that hooked you from a young age, or not so young?
Actually, when I was in Form 1, yeah, when I was about 13, a lot of people at school were into Iron Maiden. So yeah, I kind of thought I wanted to check this out and see what it was all about. Yeah, so, and I was like quite impressed when I first heard it. It's like, wow, this is really cool stuff. So that was like my main metal band as a starting point, you know, into metal. And then from there it went into like the other ones like Metallica and Def Leppard and those sort of ones.
Yep, yeah. Natural evolution. And now we're talking about like Flesh God and, you know, Devin Townsend and stuff. We're not even talking about strapping young lad days. So it's crazy. But yeah, yeah. I mean, it'd be yeah. You actually.
So I just think it's this what Lyle just asked actually like sort of ties in quite nicely with what I wanted to speak to you about. So I'm a fellow musician, and I was wondering, like, what's your sort of creative process? How do you go about writing a new song, to like writing lyrics to like basically, what is your process?
I think it starts off with the basic sound I have in my head. There's kind of a sound that I'm hoping to achieve. So I'll just kind of go into Cubase and just try and lay down some riffs and with drums and just work out some sort of structure that gets close to what I'm trying to, what I have in my mind. And once I've got something that I think, yeah, that's on the right lines, I'll try and develop that more and try and figure out what kind of song structure and, well, lyric structure will work with it. Just sort of build it from there. Kind of do it in sections. Like once I've got one nice sounding verse, then I think, okay, well, that's a nice solid start. And just music in that case, in some cases, writes itself, which is that's quite cool. When it just kind of flows easily, that's the best thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be fairly like, oh, don't know what to do next.
And with your process, do you handle everything? Do you like handle your own recording? Do you handle your own mixing, your own mastering, and everything?
I do, yes, yeah. Kind of, I like being in control of it all. Which, I mean, in the long run might not be the best idea, but at least for me now, it's if I can do it and get it all produced just with me doing it, that kind of it just saves getting other people involved right now, and I'm just trying to get as much done as possible.
Well, you've impressed Lyle, and I've listened to some of your stuff, and you've impressed me, and we like very picky when it comes to production. So that's kind of where the question came from. It's like I was like quite impressed that someone did it from like start to finish, basically by themselves. Yeah, like the production is very well done. So
I appreciate that. Thanks. And I do kind of get a bit obsessive with it.
You definitely got that wall of sound feel, like, you know, that big like mammoth wave of sound feel going for it. So obviously you mentioned the fact that you just run creative ideas and you kind of let them come to you. How long has the general process been in writing originally the Night Shift album, and then obviously this much more smaller conceptual StormScapes EP? How long were the processes in both of those?
Well, actually, Night Shift took quite a while, like probably a couple of years even, because when I was writing it, I would just do a little bit per week and then not do it. I was kind of sporadic at the recording. And then I finally, once I got going on the vocals and got the other guys involved, that's when it sort of, the production seemed to go quicker. But with the newer stuff now, with me just focusing on it when I can actually do a song within 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah, that's when there's not too many distractions, and yeah, I can just get on with it.
Yeah, of which there's many at the moment. Well,
yeah.
I guess kind of, I mean, we were talking about the albums and promo and whatnot. I guess that brings me to the next question. You're another one of the patrons of Devar PR. You've also one of the bands that's worked alongside him doing a bit of promo for your recent EP and the Night Shift reissued edition. How's the experience been, you know, for anybody that's actually tuning in interested in maybe using an agency? How's the whole process been working with Curtis and the team during this?
I know Curtis has been great. I think since he said he was keen to help with the public with the PR stuff on my music, and I was like, sure, I'd be really grateful for that. He just needed just all the music and like basic details, and yeah, from there he just kind of put it out there and would show me the write-ups he would do, and yeah, and I was like, this is all great, just go for it. So yeah, no, with him he certainly helped get my stuff out there, and yeah, so I think PR is,
I mean, I guess ipso facto, we kind of met via him as well. He put us in connection with you. He was like, hey, there's this killer Zimbabwean mellow death band. You know, I didn't fill in the details that it in fact was just one guy, you know. So initially when I started dealing with you, it was way more in the sense of, you know, dealing with like the guys of Overthrust, where I would have to deal with one guy as a representative for 4 or 5 other members. So when I started dealing with you, it was in such a macro discussion. I'm like, oh yeah, let's get together and actually make this happen. Oh yeah, talk to the bands. And you're like, no, it's just me. And it was like, oh, okay. So yeah, it definitely, yeah, if there's one good thing that like Devar has actually done, it's been able to actually bridge this gap. And I think this is something that we've touched on with a lot of the other bands, is how many of these agencies and how many of these international bloggers are actually into supporting African metal, not necessarily just South African or Kenyan or, you know, Togo or Botswana. It's literally like they love the fact that there's this fresh killer music coming out of Africa. And I mean, you're a prime example with your recent releases. So yeah, definitely I'll be excited to hear what you come up with in the future.
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, no. And when I was chatting to Curtis, he was also very interested to know what other bands were like doing stuff here and if he'd missed anyone out. And yeah, so that's really cool. He's taking an interest on what's happening this side.
Just making it nicer, making the world smaller. That's kind of what he's doing. It's bridging this gap. Suddenly now places in Canada, like out in Toronto, are airing your stuff on radio, and it's like, okay, well, great. You're like in between Archspire and like, you know, like crazy other tech death bands, and there's Nuclear Winter to go bring it in, and they're in the middle of summer, so it's a very ironical name right now. So
right. Oh, okay. That is quite surreal to think like, yeah, stuff is being played over there, and occasionally you get the odd message from like someone in, I don't know, like the Czech Republic or something saying, hey, found your stuff, and that's really cool. So, you know, it's quite,
that's what it's about. That's what it's about. I mean, like if there's one thing that I think almost every band who's at this point probably a bit jaded here in South Africa, it's all about like sharing your music with the public. And if you can get fans overseas, you know, it's not about the money, but it's definitely validating and letting you know that, you know, you're not wasting your time, that it isn't falling on deaf ears, so to speak. So it's excellent. I mean, that's one thing that agencies have always been able to kind of do, is at least give a little bit more reach. Again, like I said, had it not been for an agency, you and I would not have been speaking, and it wouldn't have brought us to this point now of reissuing a previous album and just putting out your newest EP and having this chat here in the middle of July while we're all in the middle of a lockdown. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's quite crazy. But yeah, no, luckily with this lockdown, I think I have been able to get onto producing some new stuff. So yeah, I'm quite content for the lockdown to sort of be as it is. I can just music when I want to. Yeah.
So
and
yeah,
I'm actually like the fourth. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Sorry, you continue.
And I was just saying, I've been working on some new songs, and I'm on to the 4th new track now. So at least that's kind of halfway, maybe towards a new album. So yeah, kind of excited.
Yeah, I guess that kind of was one of the questions I was going to ask. I mean, the new material, obviously, with StormScapes being very different sounding compared to Night Shift, a lot more of a denser melodic feel, like a lot more layering, even in the verses and the chorus and the vocal ranges. What can listeners expect in the future from Nuclear Winter? I mean, you said you're working on some new tracks. What's going to be the general vibe moving forward with the project?
The main thing was I was wanting to try and make it better than StormScapes. So there's definitely going to be more synths. I'm also trying to do more clean singing and a lot more sort of melodic harmonies. And so I think it'll just try and be a bigger production than what StormScapes was. Maybe, yeah, not quite what like Night Shift was, but yeah, just kind of epic, well, trying to make it sound epic, melodic death metal. So, but just more, probably hopefully more, I wouldn't say complex, but hopefully more musical than StormScapes. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so far you're doing brilliantly. So yeah, it's going to be quite killer to hear the future future tracks. Again, Night Shift, I think, felt had a bit more of an industrial tone to it, whereas I feel, obviously, you mentioned Winter Sun and Devon Townsend. I mean, obviously, the StormScapes takes a lot more of that influence. So, yeah, like, definitely keen to hear more of that, and I'm sure other people will too.
No, thanks. Yeah, I think the new stuff will be more industrial as well. So, so that would be cool.
So Stormscape was actually quite cool. You did some covers on that as well as part of that EP. And yeah, I was listening to it this morning again, and yeah, is it something that you're going to keep doing, like doing some covers, or is that something like you're going to keep for EPs, or do you think you're going to do covers on your albums, or?
Yeah, and I think the covers were probably more just for the EP. I don't really want to continue doing covers right now. I'd rather just focus on trying to do new stuff. But I think at least with New York, that was just a fun one. I've always liked that song, and I thought that would be kind of a cool one to try vocally at least, and just make it just a bit heavier. The cover of Africa was actually suggested by Curtis. He was like, "Oh, imagine you guys did a." He was hoping that Chris from Dividing the Elements and I would do the cover of Africa, but yeah, Chris wasn't really able to. He was tied up with other stuff. So I thought, let me just do this for fun, and yeah, that's kind of how that one came about. But from now, I don't think I'll do any covers. Well, at least not in the short term.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting to hear, obviously, renditions of a lot more like classical type tunes. I mean, in the form of even Sinatra, it's ridiculous, you know. So, yeah, but it seemed to have a good response abroad. So, I mean, that's all that really matters: sharing the music and sharing a different tribute to a legend, I guess. Obviously, we mentioned a while ago that we were going to be actually starting a whole line of merch. People can actually, anybody that's actually checking this, you guys can check in the description section of this. We have a Teespring link to the Draconem media site where you can get a whole bunch of MMD and Draconem gear, including a fresh Nuclear Winter design with the front end killer backprint. I guess that's kind of another thing that I wanted to kind of segue into. The artwork that you usually have used for your work, for the covers of your albums, do you design all of them yourself, or have you had some influence or touches from other graphic designers in the past here? Because there's definitely a theme that's run through all the releases over the years.
Yeah, no, that I've done all myself as well. I mean, my main job is doing 3D design. So yeah, that's been my main job, doing graphics work. So it just, yeah, seeing I do that, I just thought it would be easier for me to do the covers, and yeah, so that's probably why the theme is fairly similar.
Oh, well, I mean, regardless of whether it was an unfortunate mistake, it definitely has that almost the same color contrast as what the Children of Bodom albums had. Like every album has like a kind of a similar thread running through it. And that's not necessarily something bad when people start looking back into the discography. So yeah, definitely.
Hopefully the next cover won't be like just all stormy clouds and stuff. Think of something different.
Yeah, we do something with blue skies and sun. Yeah, we'll just do uplifting. It'll just
I think so, yeah. Oxymoron, yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk gear, man. What guitars are you using and tunings?
Sure. No, I use mainly a Schecter 7-string tuned to A. That's what I mainly use. I also have an Ibanez PGM, which, although it's a 6-string, I've also tuned that down to A. So I've kind of done away with the top E. then I just generally now record that straight into Cubase using AmpSims.
Cool.
Okay, like Night Shift, I was actually going through a Boss GT8 and straight into the sound card. But once your sound's recorded like that, it's very hard to change it. So that's where AmpSims now are a lot more flexible. So that's generally what I use now. And then for mics, vocally, I use an Audix i5. I tested that with an SM58 beta. I don't know, the i5 just seemed to work better in this case. So that's what I mainly use. Otherwise, software, yeah, I use Toontrack drums. Yeah, Zeta 3, no, what's it? Zeta 2 synth. Yeah, that's like my main synth that I use. And then just the other like default synths that come with Cubase, I use them a lot. So, yeah.
All licensed original software, by the way, if anybody's watching, wondering about Cubase at all.
Of course.
No crack software on this stream.
No.
None of but yeah, Gary. I guess we're kind of reaching the top of this discussion. I guess is there anything you want to kind of say to any peeps that might be curious about hearing more of you, or just a message to anybody that might have been following you in this process?
Can't think of anything offhand. Thanks. Maybe just continue watching the Facebook page for any new posts. That's where I'll update any new information on probably first. So yeah, but for now, I'm just kind of focus on getting this new album done. So yeah, that's the main thing for now.
2021. Hopefully 2021 we see it sees the light of day. I think people will be quite keen, but you've definitely made a good stamp. You've made a lot of local SA bands feel very insecure about their own production, and that's always a good thing. You're gonna up the game. And yeah, we'll no doubt be catching up very soon. And yeah, anybody that's interested in following him, Nuclear Winter, some on Facebook, on Instagram as well. And yeah, just keep checking out the MMD Records page or the Draconem page, and we'll keep filling you guys in with new details as they come. But yeah, Gary, it's been awesome to chat to you. First out of South Africa guest on our show, so it's quite a monumental moment. I feel like we're making stride here. It seems like you have a better internet line than I do here, so there you go.
No, luckily it hasn't played up. Yeah, so it's been a decent connection. But no, it's certainly been great to catch up with you, and
it's good times. Good times. A lot of good stuff coming. And again, Alec, yeah, thanks for making this happen, man. It's always good to chat to you also. And yeah, all the rest of you guys are tuned in. Thanks for watching, and we hope you guys enjoyed it, found out a little bit more info. And yeah, like I said, keep checking out all of our pages. A lot more info coming soon. Have a great Sunday, guys. Cheers.
Peace.
Cheers. Oh.